the fact that we feel bad because we don't want to shame our witness. That's your ego.
Yeah.
You don't want to shame Jesus. It's just your ego.
Yeah.
That's why I had a girl come to Bible study and said, I know you're not shy because I read your Facebook stuff. She said, I know. But I don't say much in Bible study because I already know how I am outside of Bible study. So interesting. So you would choose to be a public mess instead of a public witness.
Wow.
Anyway, the stronghold. But the stronghold, what happens is the spirit initiates thoughts, and eventually these thoughts become a belief system, a pattern of thinking. You ever meet people and it's just that they just think a certain way is weird, it's crazy, don't make sense. I see you just say. Don't make sense. The number's never 2 + 2 is never 4 to them.
Yeah.
You know people like that. Sometimes the people is us. But that belief system is how they function, how they live. It is the person who, I used to be the person who, because I was molested in foster care and all these different things, I always felt like the people who didn't take care of me, who were supposed to need to come out and do it. As a result of that, the belief system I had was lazy. Living life, acting like I deserved something instead of working for anything. Doesn't seem like a big deal until you deal with somebody in close proximity, and you'll find out they're always needy and clingy and expecting you, but never willing to do it. That makes sense? That's a belief. That's a stronghold. I know we talk about strongholds as something real deep and spiritual. Phenomenal thing about strongholds is Jesus said, I deal with the demon, but you cast down the stronghold. And that's the hard part. Because a lot of the times we get delivered from things by the power of God, but we never initiate responsibility over our life after that thing. If you want a good example of that, look at Israel after they left Egypt. All they did was complain. Never took responsibility for their lives. Every time something went wrong, they looked at Moses and said, this is your fault. We don't have water. This is your fault. Even though I chose to be delivered and I prayed for this, I'm blaming you now. God gave them manna from heaven, which means they never had to work to eat. You know what I'm saying? It's a belief system. So these people did not know how to live life after God showed up and did all this miraculous work. One of the things my pastor said to me after I had got fired from a job because I was irresponsible, never coming to work on time, sometimes not coming to work, he said, son, and y'all don't hear nothing else I say tonight because some of y'all are going to function in ministry and God is going to use you to do great exploits. He said, son, just because you're anointed don't mean you got good sense.
That's good.
All my feelings was hurt on the phone when he said that. Because I'm over the college ministry. I'm a deacon. I teach Sunday school. I'm on the intercessory prayer team. And my pastor, the same one who put me there, lets me know that you don't have any good sense. Just because God uses you doesn't make you smart. He used a donkey to talk. But the phenomenal thing is after the donkey talked, the donkey never spoke again. Yeah. I don't want to be God's one-hit wonder. I had that one sermon I preached and I still talk about it 10 years later because of that one time. Yeah. But God places a demand on us to take responsibility for our life. You study the story of Paul. He'll talk about the fact that he worked when he didn't have to. He said, for some of y'all, so y'all will understand what it means to be a believer, I'll work and preach and pastor. So that you can look and have me as a reference point of how you're supposed to live. So the stronghold is a belief system or a thought pattern. A stronghold is by definition a place that serves as a center for a group, as a militants, or a person having a controversial viewpoint. It's not a stronghold unless it's controversial to something else that already stands. That makes sense? Because if I agree with the kingdom, I don't need a separate stronghold from the kingdom because the kingdom becomes the stronghold. But if I disagree, then I have to establish my defense against you. In short, the stronghold is a house made of thoughts. And Jesus says, tear down the stronghold yourself. And the first thing he says to do is cast down imaginations. What's that? Okay. He says, cast down imaginations. Then he says, bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. The reason this is so important, because the Bible says in Romans 8, I believe it's 8:5, the Bible says that the carnal mind is enmity against God. Enmity means hatred. The Bible says in Colossians 1:21 that you were alienated from God through your thoughts by wicked works. Which means my belief system put me in opposition to God. And what happens is, the Bible says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So I think a certain way, so I act a certain way. I can tell what you think. And that's the thing. The reason you act different when you come to Bible study is you don't want me to know what you're thinking. You don't want the people in church to know what you really think. So you come to church and you act a certain way. But that only lasts for a couple of hours. When you leave, you act how you really act. And then I can see what you really think.
So, if Satan whispered to you, that's not a thought.
Well, it's a thought, but this is the thing. The phenomenal thing is the word hear actually means, part one of the definition is to audition. Anytime you hear anything, it's auditioning for a place in your brain.
So you just rebuke it.
You rebuke it, or you just ignore it. Sometimes you want to get deep, say the Lord rebuke it. Cast you out of my mindset. But sometimes you can just be like, I'm changing the channel.
Yeah.
Like you told me to call when you call a brother, call somebody in your phone.
Yeah, call somebody else who will speak the opposite of what it is that you're hearing. Sometimes when I leave and y'all won't be in ministry, you'll get up, minister God use you, you'll say all this phenomenal stuff, and you'll go home and all of a sudden you start feeling down and depressed and you don't know why.
Like I'm at 7-1 right now, that 40 looks so good, man.
But you know what? It's better to tell somebody about your temptation than have to call and tell them about your faults. Which call would you want to have to make? I messed up, or I'm thinking about messing up.
I'm thinking about it.
Because sometimes when you mess up, you can't reverse the consequences. What if you get pregnant? Yeah. All of a sudden, it's out of your mind, but it's in your body forever. It's in your life forever. And the Bible says if you have a brother that falls, if you're spiritual, restore him in the spirit of meekness. But I promise you, everybody ain't going to do it. Understand this. Z, I'm about to come to you. That church, once you get saved, oftentimes church becomes the character development center. And the character development center, or the tools that are used are usually church people. It teaches you how to be patient, how to take things, and how to respond to things, and how to treat other people. And you get surprised sometimes. We get surprised when things happen to us in church and everything. But the church kind of crucified Jesus, didn't they? Israel crucified Jesus. They was the ones yelling. And so if they'll kill Jesus, what makes them think? What makes you think that when you get to church, they're not gonna say nothing about you? That don't mean run from church. It just means don't be surprised when sister so and so say, "Oh my gosh, you're bleeding," and they hold a knife at the same time. Oh my goodness, somebody stabbed you. What are you gonna say, Jay?
And I was going to say, a lot of the time we're deceived because we think it's our thoughts, but like you said, Satan suggests the thoughts, and when he suggests the thoughts, he's not going to say, you want to have sex. He wants you to think you're thinking it, so he's going to say, I want to have sex. So you think that's your thought, and you have a choice on whether you want to embrace that thought or not, but it's not your thought, it's a suggestion.
The thing is, he only has as much power as you allow. Don't be deceived because you have an urge in your body that you think you have to feel the urge that you have.
Exactly.
That's a lie. I promise you. The Bible said the carnal mind. So that carnal mind is directly connected to your flesh, which is your 5 senses. So my mind, my body, because flesh is completely for self-gratification, it's all about self, it will tell you to do anything, say anything to get what it wants. That's why if you ever find yourself, depending on what your issue is, I don't know what your issue is, you always can find a way to do that thing. Before you can find money to pay your bills, you'll find money to go to the party, get the drink, get the smoke, buy the condoms. Whatever your issue is, you always have money for that issue. Or if you're addicted to the person, you always have money to get pay your phone bill so you can talk to them. You have no other money to eat, but your phone is on. For you.
I was going to go back to what you said about the church education. And you know Dr. Cindy Trim?
Oh,
yeah.
She talked about, she has like a Kingdom University thing. She talked about how the church is the educational component of the kingdom.
It is. It is school.